SHEDEUR Sanders didn't just join the Browns, he transformed them. Before his arrival, Cleveland's market relevance hovered at the league's bottom tier. Now the team is selling out jerseys on 4 continents and seeing its valuation spike. This isn't the usual rookie boost. This is structural. Jimmy Haslam positioned Sanders not just as a QB, but as the core of a rebranded organization. While rival teams worry about draft boards and depth charts, Haslam is chasing market share, globally.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It's a strategy built on more than metrics. Sanders is proof that identity drives economics. Fans aren't just watching for touchdowns, they're buying into the story. In this new NFL, the scoreboard is only part of the business. The real win is in global resonance, emotional loyalty, and economic transformation, all of which Sanders brings in spades. SHEDEUR Sanders hasn't just entered the NFL. He's detonated inside it. Not as a rookie quarterback trying to prove himself on the field, but as a full-fledged global brand. And it's driving NFL owners into a quiet, chaotic panic. While most first-year players show up hoping for a starting job and a few sponsorships, SHEDEUR showed up with something else entirely: power. Not the usual kind either. This isn't about arm strength or 40-yard dash times. This is business power, cultural power, global influence. The kind of force that doesn't just move fans, it shifts the league itself. And at the center of this shift, Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, who saw the future and decided to bet everything on it. This isn't a Cinderella story or a fluke. It's strategy. Haslam didn't draft a quarterback, he partnered with a cultural asset. From day one, SHEDEUR wasn't being treated like an athlete. He was treated like a movement. The Browns didn't just pick him, they built around him. SHEDEUR's jerseys didn't just sell out in Cleveland. They took off in London, in Lagos, in Dubai and Seoul. Name another rookie who's doing numbers like that on a global scale. You can't. Because the NFL until now has been a US-centric machine. SHEDEUR cracked it open. And that's exactly what Haslam wanted. From the jump, Haslam understood this wasn't about short-term wins. He wasn't thinking one season ahead, he was thinking a decade. A slow burn instead of a quick pop. The Browns didn't overexpose SHEDEUR. They didn't push him too fast or hang him out to dry. They built a system around him not just to protect his arm but to protect the brand. Because SHEDEUR Sanders isn't just a quarterback. He's an asset. A CEO in cleats. The guy delivers 300-yard games on the field and controlled, compelling messaging off it. His interviews don't just go viral, they set the tone. His social media doesn't follow trends, it defines them. And every move, every soundbite, every post adds value, not just to his own name but to the Browns franchise as a whole. The result? A team that's no longer just a team. It's a cultural export. This is what's driving NFL executives mad. The model is working. SHEDEUR isn't just holding his own, he's thriving. And the Browns? Their valuation is climbing. Their fan base is multiplying. People who've never watched a Cleveland game in their life are suddenly paying attention. Wearing the merch. Following the games. Engaging. Meanwhile, other franchises are scrambling. Because this isn't something you can copy overnight. You can't just throw a marketing team at it and expect the same results. What Haslam and SHEDEUR have is built on trust, long-term vision, and an actual understanding of modern media. And here's the thing, they're not hiding the playbook. They're just executing it better than anyone else. For years, the NFL has been driven by control. Teams control the narrative. Players are slotted into rigid media molds. The league tells the story and everyone else follows the script. But SHEDEUR has flipped that. He's writing his own story in real time and the Browns are letting him. They're not suppressing his voice, they're amplifying it. Not for show but because they know that voice is the product. And while other owners panic about players becoming too big, Haslam is making sure SHEDEUR becomes as big as possible. This isn't just about football, it's about entertainment, identity, and emotional investment. Fans don't just cheer for SHEDEUR, they relate to him. He gives them something to buy into beyond stats and scoreboards. It's connection, purpose. The NFL has never really known what to do with that kind of player. But now they don't have a choice. Because SHEDEUR is showing what the modern athlete looks like, and it's not someone waiting to be molded. It's someone who already knows their worth. The Browns' strategy isn't just different, it's disruptive. While teams are still locked into outdated playbooks, Cleveland is playing chess. And the moves are deliberate. They're not rushing SHEDEUR into the spotlight because they don't need to. His value isn't tied to instant wins, it's tied to long-term relevance. Think about it. SHEDEUR's development isn't just about getting better on the field, it's about staying durable, media-savvy, and globally relevant. That's how you build a billion-dollar athlete. Not by burning them out for a season's worth of highlight reels, but by protecting the investment and scaling the impact. This is a shift from a league that's obsessed with control to one that's being forced to think about collaboration. Because SHEDEUR isn't just playing the game, he's changing how the game is marketed, monetized, and consumed. Even his on-field success is just part of the equation. Multiple 300-yard games? That's great. But what's more valuable is how those moments are framed, shared, and turned into stories that stretch far beyond the stadium. He's not just scoring touchdowns, he's building legacy. And that legacy isn't confined to Cleveland. The Browns are now a globally recognized brand, not because of a Super Bowl run, but because of the cultural power behind their quarterback. Their strategy has created a feedback loop. More fans, more merch, more attention, more value. It's not just a football story anymore. It's business. It's media. It's global engagement. And it's leaving the rest of the league scrambling to catch up. Some teams are trying to replicate it, signing flashy players, beefing up their media departments, launching social campaigns. But it's not sticking. Because you can't fake authenticity. You can't manufacture trust. What SHEDEUR and HASLAM have is organic. Built over time. Rooted in real understanding of how modern fandom works. It's not about being everywhere, it's about being intentional. SHEDEUR doesn't just go viral. He steers the narrative. He understands what moments matter. How to talk about them. How to extend their life beyond the game. And that understanding is priceless. The Browns have gone from a struggling franchise to the blueprint. Not because they landed the most physically dominant quarterback, but because they understood where the league is heading. SHEDEUR is the prototype. Business-minded, media-trained, culturally fluent. The kind of athlete who doesn't wait for permission to lead, he just does. And now the NFL is being forced to reckon with it. The days of rigid, top-down control are being replaced by player-driven ecosystems. Franchises aren't just teams anymore, they're platforms. And athletes aren't just employees, they're partners. For the Browns, this isn't a risk. It's a long-term strategy with compounding returns. They've essentially merged the sports model with the influencer economy. And it's working. SHEDEUR Sanders is no longer a rising star. He's a rising empire. And Jimmy HASLAM? He didn't just see it coming. He made it happen. So yeah, NFL owners are panicking. Because they're not just watching a new player rise. They're watching an old system collapse. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're here for the chaos. And let us know, are we witnessing the future of the NFL, or is this just a perfect storm the league can't replicate? Either way, one thing's clear, the playbook has officially changed. And here's the part that's really freaking people out in those glossy NFL boardrooms. This wasn't supposed to happen in Cleveland. Cleveland, a franchise that's been the punchline of the league for decades. The factory of sadness. The place where talent goes to fade, not flourish. And yet, this is where the revolution begins? That's the kind of twist that turns front offices into group chats full of question marks. Because if Cleveland can do it, what's stopping anyone else? Well, here's the catch, almost everything. See, HASLAM didn't just luck into SHEDEUR. He built the runway. He didn't draft a brand and hope it performed. He invested in it. And not in the usual transactional way the NFL does with rookies, throwing them into media training sessions and hoping for a few marketable sound bites. No, this was deliberate. From SHEDEUR's first press conference to his first start, there's been a plan. A curated alignment of image, message, and moments. The Browns didn't just launch a player. They launched a global product. One that speaks fluently across continents and demographics. While most rookies are lucky to get regional buzz, SHEDEUR became international property overnight. We're talking Browns jerseys in Dubai malls, SHEDEUR highlight reels translated into Korean, entire Reddit threads and Legos breaking down his post-game interviews. Not just for what he said, but how he said it. He's calm. Measured. CEO energy, not just QB1 energy. He knows exactly when to smile, when to clap back, and when to say nothing at all. That polish? It's not media coaching. It's instinct. He's the kind of athlete who already thinks like a media company. He's not waiting on ESPN to frame the story, he's crafting the story himself in real time. And because of that, fans feel like they know him. Not the PR version. The real one. The version that feels accessible but aspirational. That's what makes SHEDEUR different. It's not just hype. It's trust. And in a league that's been desperately trying to cultivate the next face of the NFL, he's already wearing it. But here's the uncomfortable truth for the rest of the league. This doesn't scale. You can't just find another SHEDEUR in next year's draft. Because it's not just about talent. It's timing. It's digital fluency. It's having a legacy name but still earning every yard. It's walking the tightrope of influence and humility without falling off. And on the ownership side, Jimmy HASLAM cracked a code most billionaires still haven't figured out. Get out of the way but stay in the room. Most NFL owners want the spotlight when things go right and scapegoats when they don't. HASLAM. He's quietly orchestrating. Not yelling into headsets or micromanaging GMs. He's partnering, investing, positioning. While other franchises throw money at big-name free agents hoping for a miracle, HASLAM bet on narrative equity, and it's paying off tenfold. Because look at the numbers. The Browns' valuation? Global engagement metrics? Social growth, sponsorship interest, ticket demand? All up. And this isn't just fair-weather hype. It's sustained. Because it's not tied to just winning. It's tied to belonging. People want to feel part of something. And SHEDEUR gives them that. When he walks onto the field, it's not just a game, it's a story. Every throw feels like a plot point. Every post-game moment like an episode in a larger saga. Fans aren't just watching, they're subscribing to a journey. And the Browns are cashing in on it all. You think it's a coincidence that major brands are now sniffing around Cleveland like it's Madison Avenue? Please. The second SHEDEUR touched down, the brand deals shifted. Because he's not just marketable, he's a market. That's the difference. Most players are extensions of the team's brand. SHEDEUR is the brand, and the team is his platform. And this is what's really throwing NFL owners off their axis. Because the model they've spent decades protecting, where the league owns the image, the player, the story, it's slipping. Slowly. Quietly. But undeniably. With every viral clip, every headline, every international jersey sale, SHEDEUR's showing them, you don't need the machine to be bigger than it. You just need leverage. And that is what's making the suits sweat. Because how do you keep control of a league when your stars start thinking like moguls? When they don't need legacy networks to speak, or traditional media to build influence. When they can move culture on their own. It's not that the NFL is losing relevance. It's that relevance is now something players can own. And if SHEDEUR can do it, with the right owner, the right system, and the right vision, who's next? That's the million or rather billion-dollar question. And what's wild is that SHEDEUR isn't even at his peak yet. He's still learning the league. Still growing into his full on-field potential. Which means the ceiling. We haven't even seen it. He's already got the business acumen, the global reach, the narrative command. When the football side catches up completely, when the timing, the chemistry, the reads become second nature, it's over. The transformation will be complete. Not just for SHEDEUR. For the whole league. Because what he's doing is changing the expectations. Of players. Of teams. Of fans. It's no longer enough to just play well. You've got to mean something. Stand for something. Create culture. Build equity. And SHEDEUR's doing that better than anyone else right now. So yeah, the NFL isn't panicking because they dislike SHEDEUR. They're panicking because they see what's coming. A generation of players raised not just on football but on platforms. Who understand monetization, media, and identity in a way the old guard never had to. Who aren't afraid to be more than just team guys. Because they've seen the model work. They've seen SHEDEUR step in and own it. And if the league doesn't adjust, they'll be the ones left behind holding playbooks that no longer apply. The Browns? They'll be fine. They saw the shift and leaned into it. They didn't try to force SHEDEUR into an outdated mold. They built a new one around him. And now they're not just competing. They're defining. So whether you love Cleveland or hate them, you can't ignore what they're doing. The blueprint has changed. The rules have changed. And SHEDEUR Sanders is the reason why. And here's the part that's keeping PR departments up at night. They can't control any of it. SHEDEUR Sanders is not only rewriting what a franchise quarterback looks like, he's pulling the whole league into a new reality where players aren't just athletes or personalities. They're platforms. And you don't get to manage a platform. You either collaborate with it, or get left behind. The NFL has always operated like a fortress. Players are drafted, developed, and, if they're lucky, marketed. But everything flows through the shield. The league is the brand. The teams are the gatekeepers. Players are assets that exist inside the system. But what happens when the asset builds his own system? Because that's what SHEDEUR Sanders is doing in real time. Not hypothetically. Not potentially. No. He's establishing himself as an ecosystem. And the Browns, to their credit, are the first team brave enough to say, cool, let's build around that. Think about how insane that is, structurally. A league that's obsessed with hierarchy and chain of command now has to contend with a rookie quarterback who commands more global attention than some entire franchises. Not because he's loud. Not because he's cocky. But because he's calculated. The dude understands audience. When SHEDEUR drops a quote in a press conference, it's not just words. It's intentional branding. When he posts, it's not for clout, it's for reach. And when he plays, every moment is stitched into a broader narrative that's being told beyond the scoreboard. Every game is a chapter. Every stat is a subplot. Every tweet is a pulse check on where the brand's heading next. You think that's accidental? You think that's just a lucky mix of football talent and media attention? No, that's strategy. And Jimmy HASLAM recognized it first. He saw what the NFL wasn't built to handle, a player who doesn't need the league's infrastructure to be valuable. Because SHEDEUR came into the NFL with a complete identity. Not a brand in the shallow influencer sense. A real identity. One that blends generational sports legacy, modern media instincts, and a vision that extends far past the sidelines. And what did HASLAM do? He leaned all the way in. Other teams might have tried to suppress it. Tone it down. Focus on football. Not Cleveland. They protected the value. Curated his exposure. Controlled the rollout. Gave SHEDEUR room to grow without putting him in a pressure cooker. Because they weren't just managing a player, they were cultivating a product line. You don't rush a billion-dollar brand to market. You stage it. And now the return on that patience is slapping the league in the face. We're seeing the Browns become a case study in how to build a franchise around a cultural force, not just an athlete. And it's shaking the foundations of everything we thought we knew about player development. The Browns didn't rush him into hero ball scenarios or force him to carry the team week one. They slowed the tempo. Built the team around sustainability, not short-term clout. Protected the longevity of the story. Because they know what most teams still don't. The value isn't in the moment. It's in the arc. A 300-yard game? Great. SHEDEUR's had multiple. But more important is what those games represent. Proof of concept. That the hype is real. That the brand isn't empty flash. That behind the polish there's real production. And that's what flips the equation. Because now, it's not just, SHEDEUR is marketable because he's a good player. It's, SHEDEUR is valuable because he's built to thrive in every lane, athletic, economic, cultural. And the league has never had to deal with that before. You can't coach that. You can't scheme around it. And you definitely can't fake it. That's why other franchises are scrambling, throwing money at marketing consultants and media teams trying to reverse engineer whatever it is Cleveland stumbled onto. But it wasn't stumbled onto. It was designed. It's the long game. And now that it's working, the NFL's PR machine doesn't know whether to embrace it or freak out. Because once players realize they can own their value without depending on the league's old gatekeeping structures, the balance of power starts to tilt. It's not a mutiny. It's a redefinition. And SHEDEUR Sanders is the blueprint. Not just for athletes, but for athlete entrepreneurs. For quarterbacks CEOs. For the next generation who've seen the old system chew players up and are saying, yeah, I'll do it differently. So here we are. The NFL still trying to play by the old rules, staring down a player who's winning on every field, including the ones the league doesn't control. And all of it started with one owner who saw the vision and was bold enough to build it. Jimmy HASLAM didn't just draft SHEDEUR Sanders. He co-signed the future. And now, while other teams are trying to keep up, Cleveland is sitting at the intersection of sports, culture, and global fandom, with the keys to a model that could change everything. Because SHEDEUR's impact isn't just in yards or wins. It's in market penetration, brand loyalty, and emotional engagement. It's in Lagos kids rocking Browns jerseys and Dubai sports bars throwing watch parties. It's in global identity. And that's the scariest part for the NFL. They've spent decades building a fortress of control. Now, a single player, supported by a visionary owner, has cracked it wide open. So you can call it a rookie season if you want. But what SHEDEUR Sanders is doing, it's not a season. It's a shift. A shift in power. In narrative. In how sports icons are built in the 21st century. And unless the league wakes up fast, this won't be a one-off. This will be the new standard. Tap in. Hit that like. Share this with someone who still thinks SHEDEUR is just hype. And drop a comment. What do you think this means for the future of the NFL? Because this isn't just a football story anymore. This is legacy in the making. And the ripple effect? Oh, it's already hitting the league in places they didn't expect. Sponsors are paying attention. Legacy broadcasters are asking questions. Marketing departments that used to rely on recycled star power are being forced to recalibrate. Because now it's not enough to slap a player on a billboard and call it a campaign. Brands want what SHEDEUR has: authentic reach, cultural currency, built-in audience trust. They want someone who doesn't just represent the future, but owns it. And here's the most telling sign that this isn't just hype. Other players are watching. Quietly but closely. Because SHEDEUR is proving something that every young athlete has suspected but never had a model for. You don't have to wait to be chosen. You can walk in with leverage if you build it right. And he did. This wasn't just handed to him because of his last name. Let's be honest, having Deion Sanders as your dad opens doors, but it doesn't guarantee you walk through them with this kind of presence. That takes work. That takes self-awareness. That takes building a persona that doesn't just ride on lineage but creates something new. SHEDEUR isn't just Deion's son. He's the first of his kind. And now, he's the centerpiece of a franchise that used to be a league afterthought. That's the wildest twist of all. The Cleveland Browns, long considered cursed, broken, irrelevant, are now the most forward-facing, strategically sound organization in the league. Not because they won a Super Bowl, but because they're building something that lasts longer than a ring. A blueprint. The irony? While teams with multiple Lombardis are still clinging to dusty formulas and toughness narratives, the Browns are out here moving like a tech startup. Agile, modern, disruptive. And it's working. Global reach? They've got it. Economic growth? Through the roof. Player satisfaction? SHEDEUR doesn't just look locked in, he looks at home. Because he's not just being tolerated as a brand, he's being amplified. And that's the part other franchises don't know how to replicate. Because most front offices still think of branding as something you allow players to do in the offseason. Meanwhile, Cleveland said, let's build it into the DNA of our program. And now they've got a quarterback who's not just bringing in points, he's bringing in partnerships. So when owners start murmuring at those closed-door meetings about how this is getting out of hand, what they really mean is, they're losing grip. Losing control over the narrative. Losing control over the league's cultural gatekeeping. Losing control over what it even means to be a franchise player. Because this new model? It doesn't ask for permission. It asks, what value are we building together? And if the answer isn't mutual, players like SHEDEUR won't wait around. They'll go where the vision matches their ambition. Right now, that place is Cleveland. Let that sink in. The Browns are no longer just chasing relevance. They're defining it. So what comes next? Well, that depends on whether the league adjusts or resists. Because SHEDEUR isn't going to slow down. He's not going to shrink himself for comfort. He's not going to stop building. And he shouldn't have to. Because what he's doing isn't just good for Cleveland. It's good for the NFL. It's good for fans who want more than robotic sound bites. It's good for a sport that's overdue for evolution. This is the next chapter. Whether the league's ready or not. If you're still here, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Are we witnessing the first true media mogul quarterback? Or is this just a flash in the pan? Either way, buckle up. Because SHEDEUR Sanders is just getting started, and the game may never look the same again.